Thank you to everyone. I thank all people who love islands and the coast, and especially Flinders Island residents, Indigenous, and from wherever you come from, and thanking also the people that have come over many years. I know there's quite a few of you who volunteered. So I'm going to quickly cap up the importance of follow-up, but also just sort of say that it's not only always a picture of where you see constant improvement. You have to sort of be reminded of what's there, and sometimes new things, because we are in the position, by being on the ground, to be in the eyes for our land. So, you know, I've given it away. I've said that the mirror bush, which has kindly been given a prop here, has been turning up. And, you know, our group has focused pretty much on boxthorn up to now. So, to sort of quickly recap, this year it's been two lots of working bees with, say, we'll round it up to 20 people. And we've done a lot of work. You know, we've gone to have a look at 17 islands. So that's the summary of. This is the face of people. People are working here. We have our idea of what we're going to be doing. We always have our backup plans. So we've got people crawling around doing sea spurge. We don't usually do sea spurge, but we've had some passionate people along to do that work. But our focus has been doing on follow-up of all these islands. And this is where those islands are being shown. Most of them on the western side of Flinders Island. And I have to keep in my mind, reminding myself, the western side is where it's actually gentler weather. It's more protected. It's out on the east that is quite wild, so Cap and Storehouse to that side. But our focus has for many years, people have probably heard of the work we've done on Royden Island, but this year it was really, we need to get back to everywhere we've been to do follow-up. And so, you know, the idea of follow-up, it's easier work. Things are little. And we've got some beautiful photos here. I can't claim them. They do actually show, you know, this is just the simple on-ground stuff. People move around, we try to sweep through the landscape and pick up these very small plants. It's not hard work. We get to go into beautiful places. You need to be consistent and slow. It's a very zen thing. You just kick in, look at the landscape. You train people so they can actually recognise these weeds. And something I did learn, I've been to these places many times, and you're talking with the skipper. Where do we put the boat in? Oh, it's around this side, the beach is around there, and you go there. Oh, that was only at low tide. Can't get in here now. It's all these little things and small innovations. It's mostly hand tools, as we can see, secateurs, etc. Little chainsaws, great to have on hand. And, you know, a lot of this, it's not rocket science, it's persistence. You know, crawling around, weeding stuff. But it also is hugely satisfying. All ages, all fun. But where we have been changing things a bit, and some of this is even driven by the simple need to be able to give funding bodies good documentation and something real for their money. So when we're coming back, we're trying to get everybody to carry GPS and mark where they're collecting things. So, as you can see, gone too far. So that's the tracks. You get a very quick idea on coverage. And in fact, if you go back and you see that there has been a real gap, It's very easy to hand on to somebody else who might be a leader for one of these trips to sort of say, maybe you should have a look in that section where we haven't been in any great number. But you know, it is also where you discover you have slight problems with technology. A lot of it, we've got old e-trexes hanging around, and people I work for lent me some more. But then to get the data off, the cables don't work. Minor challenges. The example that I've given here is Cat Island, which is on the eastern side of Flinders. As I said, our initial interest on doing the weed control was boxthorn. They're shown in green, but what we're finding as well, we're picking up more and more mirrorbush, and that's the little cluster, the tight cluster in the red. But you know, this is just, it's very simple data. And you can give it very simply to a funding body and say, we really have, you know, you're getting value for money. But they don't, because they no longer get the fantastic before and after photo of, you know, something that's the size of half a house and you've got 10 people rolling it over, and what they've got this time is pictures of, oh, I've removed a ceiling. But, you know, this is where you really do get value for money. But it is an unwelcome find to find more and more mirrorbush. So it's not only one island, we're finding them more and more often. They haven't turned up on all, but they're increasing. And one island, which we'll cover a bit more, Wildcare, I saw that the first time we went there in 2003. But talking with other groups, I'm finding out that they're seeing the same thing, and it's not only groups. There's a tourist operator who's saying that when he first started, yes, there was a little bit of mirrorbush on his island, and now it's really invading the space that he wants to present as a beautiful place for tourism. You can't have a beautiful space for tourism if the whole place is just crowded with mirrorbush. And Chalky Island now. This is another larger island, it's 40 hectares. The first treatment was way back in 2002, and that took it. They did a week's work. They didn't quite finish the primary control, but it has been done. But what we're finding, as I sort of showed, we're not keeping on top of this, and that's for a variety of reasons. You know, you don't always get the funding you need for charter boats. We had a strong focus on working on Royden Island, which we're very keen on, and there wasn't any burning ever on this island, so we have had a number of places where we've continually had to deal with these quite large, thorny dry boxes. They're still there, 20 years on, and they're still posing a problem. So this is a case where we've had to look at ourselves and say we're not actually doing the best job here. We've done a great job in many places, but we are finding mature plants on our trips. We don't want to find a mature plant. We want to break that cycle where there's significant seed coming in. But, you know, once you're aware of something, you can improve it. But it's still satisfying. You know, it's taken three days of work, and a 40-hectare island has been effectively cleaned up. But the problem areas, as I said, they do still correspond with where we had the worst of the boxthorn in the past, and they do act as very efficient nurseries. Things creep up through these dead plants. So there's a small before and after. One of the people here, Andy, it's his photo, his friend, he said, it doesn't take much. You whip these over, you roll them away. But I think that, you know, we are looking at the need to go there again, probably more, sooner rather than later. But so in that 40 hectares, there was 1,700 plants removed. So now this is back to Cap, that original one where the tracks were shown. This is on the eastern side. This island presents a bit more of a challenge to get to. We have to wait for much better weather to get out to it. You know, it's a big day trip. So the other significant thing is that we've found, there was one big mirror bush apparently found there in 2016, so 5 years ago. There's 29 this year. They're still clustered in much the same place, but it's still a concern. And there were 55 boxthorn removed. You know, on the scale, you still think, so this island was done in half a day with 8 people. That's bloody good. But what is sort of showing up, that's the next island, is this is creating a problem, because if we have to go there every year, to control the boxthorn, 4 or 5 years was fine. It's not going to be fine with mirrorbush. And so Wabalena Island, the slide that's up here, this is a place where there was always one. There was a mirrorbush from the first time I went out here, and it was roughly in the centre of the island, and the biggest of the problems though was boxthorn. This year we only removed 7 tiny boxthorn, insignificant. And you know, we could have just been going, this is fantastic, you know, we've done so good. But what we're finding is we've got something else coming up. But this is where I think you have to look at the positive. We're aware of it. If this was left to the land manager, they don't go there. They can't. They haven't got time. And nor have they been passionate enough for whatever reason to be addicted to these islands. You know, it's not the same person. They're not aware that this has changed. But we are. So here we see, you know, this has hugely changed. This is an island that had 1 red dot, and now, you know, there's over 200. So what we're finding, they're mostly still small. They pop up, unfortunately they're really tough. They pop up pretty much anywhere. They turn up in the cracks right on the sea edge, and it looks very benign at this moment. But this place is not benign. It blows. The ocean washes up to this edge. It really blows. And it's a seabird island too, they get trampled. And this was roughly in the site of where probably the original plant was. And, you know, I don't know what the stimulus is suddenly, that we've got all this regeneration. Don't know. So that's something that needs to be considered. Yes, we've had some wetter years. Where's the seed source? We did pick up a plant on Settlement Point recently, and we know that there has been persistence of the plant that was on Wabalena. The aerial shows that there are also plants popping up underneath the established tea tree, so it's able to establish in the full light, blasted by the salt, it's able to establish under a complete canopy. Where's it coming from? It's something that is very popular and tough as a coastal planting. It's certainly around the towns, and it's popping up. You know, where we're finding it is on the islands closest to where people have houses. We found it for the first time around Trousers Point. Trousers Point was one of our sort of backup places, what to do on a blowy, windy day. And I'm saying, well, where else are we going to find it? We don't know. We haven't walked there. At least on Trousers Point, I know there's lots of things that are threatened. There's a whole list of threatened species. They're tiny things. They'll be completely smothered by a plant like this. the climbers that we had on Royden to do the very last of 40 hectares on Royden. They found it on the cliffs. So they're in hard to get to places too. And when I said that other groups are finding this, the next 3 slides are of George's Rocks in the northeast. There are some very tiny sort of dark spots. This self-explanatory, 2007. Next one's 2010. You can see there's larger dark spots. It's in the mirror bush. 2018, substantially more. That's the view from the ground. I'll summarise quickly. Most people know what mirror bush is. You can ask me more about it later if you do. It's bird dispersed, but one of the important things is people could still have this plant. They're separate male-female plants. We could keep male plants in horticulture. There's hardly any risk to getting it out of the islands. So we're not asking even necessarily that people give this plant up as a fantastic windbreaking coastal situations, but we have to do it smarter. And I'm campaigning for this to be listed as a declared weed. I know that doesn't change things usually, but it does give us some power. That is the mirror bush that the Friends of Fisher Island, confusing name, seeing it's on George's Rocks, have cut. They haven't been allowed to do anything with this waste. This Parks is nervous, but as an integrated control method, this is what we need to be doing. We've successfully controlled the boxthorn by burning it. There's absolutely no reason you can't make a bonfire, drag it to it, burn it safely. As a quick summary, how mirror bush is going to change our sort of work is there'll be much more need for regular follow-ups. This means that we'll need a lot more money. In that slide on the right, the straight lady, it's charter, $1,500 a day, not cheap. And, you know, if you're looking at that annually, that's huge. Parks no longer has a boat on Flinders, not even a dinghy. I shall be polite. But that means they have no idea what's happening on the islands that they manage legally. Nor do they actually know that people are birding illegally out there too. I know, they don't. And the herbicide we've been using will have to go to something stronger because you can't kill mirror bush with glyphosate. So there's an increasing risk to people really. So we'll have to deal with that So, you know, there are real unpleasant aspects of this. And if you've got any other questions, I do get a session. Okay, sorry. Thanks.
What a valuable insight to see the change in landscape over that period of time. That's fantastic. And as Karen mentioned, she is doing a Follow the Speaker presentation in the rooms to the right. Karen is representing Friends of Bass Strait Islands. We won't look at mirror bush, Coprosma the same way again. What a valuable